From the creepiest shark in the seven seas to a faceless eel that will haunt your nightmares, here are 10 of the creepiest sea creatures ever. Number 10. Cookie Cutter Shark. No, I know what you're thinking, but this shark is not interested in cookies, cakes, or baked goods of any kind. No, the cookie cutter shark gets its name for one reason and one reason only. When it bites something, it leaves grisly wounds shaped sort of like the edges of cookies. This creepy sea creature attaches itself to its victims with lips like a vacuum cleaner and doesn't let go. Then it spins its teeth in such a way to rip out a chunk of flesh, just like a cookie cutter. Other than being an underwater vampire, the cookie cutter shark appears fairly normal from the outside. It's a tubular fish shaped like a cigar that lives in the deep water, around 3,000 feet down, mostly around Australia and Tasmania. Scientists have found its mark left on a wide variety of animals, including seals. Apparently, it doesn't always kill the victim to get a chunk ripped out by the cookie cutter shark. Sometimes large fish and sea creatures are found washed ashore with perfectly circular pieces of flesh missing from their bodies. The only possible cause is always the cookie cutter shark. It takes its bite and then swims away, leaving an unmistakable mark. Number 9. The Terrible Claw Lobster. The Terrible Claw Lobster is absolutely horrifying. It goes by a few different names, such as Ozabol's Mighty Claw Lobster or its scientific name, Dinochellus orsibelli. The creature was discovered in 2010 only about 700 feet beneath the ocean under the largest island in the Philippines, Luzon. It's a brightly colored crustacean, but at first glance it seems like it has a chainsaw attached to one of its claws. It's pink and red and a little bit purple, and it's the only crustacean ever discovered with such an unusual claw. Ron O'Dore, a senior scientist studying these incredible creatures, said that most lobsters generally have one big claw and one little claw, but this one's big claw looks like evolution gone wild. It's monstrous compared to the rest of the creature, and colorful like a child's messy art project. There are a few things to know about this bizarre lobster monster. According to Australian Geographic, it's completely blind. Scientists also aren't quite sure what it uses its abnormally large appendage for. Its massive claw is covered in what appear to be spiky teeth, though what it does with it is still a mystery. It might use the claw for battling rival lobsters during mating season. It could also have something to do with how it regulates its body temperature. Because scientists only just discovered the lobster and haven't had time to study it yet, and they haven't seen it use its claws in the wild, they can only speculate why the lobster evolved such a terrifying appendage. Number 8. Pacific Viperfish. The Pacific Viperfish is, well, a terrible nightmare. It's a slim and silvery fish equipped with a bioluminescent stomach. It's a fearsome predator that preys on smaller fish and helpless shrimp, coming up to the surface of the ocean from where it lives down in the deepest depths to feast before it scurries back down into the darkness. The reason the Pacific Viperfish is so scary is that it has teeth like needles sticking out of its face. Its two front fangs stick up from the bottom of its jaw so far that they pass its eyeballs. The viperfish is also able to unhinge its jaws and open its mouth wide enough to slurp up prey like a hungry vacuum cleaner. Then, once it has its victim inside of its mouth, it's able to keep it from escaping thanks to its huge teeth that work like jail cell doors. It turns its own mouth into a cage, giving it the time it needs to swallow the squirming fish down into its gullet. I guess there's a reason they named it after the terrifying viper. Number 7. Shiny Red Crab. This disturbing creature is something straight out of your nightmares. The shiny red crab certainly does look different from other crabs. It has some rather strange adaptations to marine life that help it thrive in the ocean environment. Technically, the spiny red crabs are part of the king crab family. They're also sometimes known as porcupine crabs because their bodies are covered in pointy spines. The spines act as protection from predators, while their 3 pairs of legs and abnormally huge claws help them fight back when something even larger tries to eat them. The crab even has a 4th pair of legs directly underneath its body that it uses only to clean its gills. The creepy spiny red crab can be found anywhere from 200 to 2,400 feet beneath the ocean, pretty much anywhere on the ocean floor. However, they do prefer warmer waters, and so they typically stay in the Atlantic Ocean. They are also quite opportunistic. The shiny red crab will scavenge corpses when it needs to and hunt down sea stars and small fish and rip them apart with their massive claws when the opportunity arises. In fact, the shiny red crab is such an efficient predator that it has almost no enemies in the wild except for human fishermen and the octopus. And just wait until you hear just how long these crabs can live for. They've been known to reach at least 30 years old, living about twice as long as most people's pet dogs. Would you ever want a shiny red crab as your pet? It would live an awfully long time. Tell me your thoughts on the best creepy sea creatures to own as a pet down in the comments below. Then remember, if you haven't subscribed to Epic Wildlife yet, go ahead and do that now. Number 6. Monkfish. The monkfish is yet another disgusting and creepy sea creature that you would never want to meet during a diving expedition. These creatures are also known as sea devils, and they're actually a type of anglerfish, similar to the disturbing and villainous anglerfish of many nightmares. There are a lot of different classifications, and it gets a bit confusing. But all you need to know is that the monkfish lives in the sand on the seafloor at about 3,000 feet deep. It's also immediately under threat because of uncontrolled fishing. The monkfish is really easy to pick out of the sand, and it doesn't help that it tastes appetizing to humans. But why is the monkfish so creepy? It's just the way it looks. It has an oversized mouth that looks ridiculously large compared to its body. It also hunts by hiding in the sand on the bottom of the ocean with its massive mouth gaped open, waiting for something yummy to swim over its greedy maw. It then lunges up very quickly to snatch up its prey. The monkfish even has a modified spine on its forehead that it uses to lure unsuspecting fish to swim over its wide open mouth. And then, when it does catch a fish, forget about chewing. The monkfish swallows it whole. Number 5. Hagfish. The hagfish is one of the most disgusting creatures anywhere in the ocean. It's a marine fish that produces slime. It's basically a slime fish. The slime produced by the hagfish is a gelatinous substance filled with protein, squirted out of the hagfish whenever it feels threatened. The weirdest part about the slime is that humans use it for a wide variety of things, from making clothes to building missiles. This is because the slime produced by the hagfish is stronger than nylon, it's extremely flexible, and the strands are even thinner than human hair. I guess some people believe that what we really need is a massive farm filled with hagfish releasing their unique slimy jelly for us to harvest for all types of industrial applications. But what about the hagfish itself? Well, it's just as gross as the slime it produces. It's been nicknamed the slime eel, despite it being a jawless fish that has no vertebral column. This means it has no skeleton. Its body is built completely out of cartilage, the same stuff that human ears are built out of. Because the hagfish doesn't have any bones, it's able to tie its body into a knot. Why does it do that? The answer may surprise you. It's intentional. It tied itself into a knot in order to help it squeeze and digest its food. The knot helps create a firm surface to use in smashing and crushing food while eating. That's partially because its teeth are not that strong, as they're only made of keratin, the same stuff your fingernails are made out of. But even if that doesn't scare you, don't ever try and wrangle a hagfish in the wild, or you'll end up with a face full of slime, which is basically fish mucus. Number 4. Electric ray. The electric ray isn't quite as creepy as it is fascinating, but more than that, it's just plain scary. The electric ray is just like a stingray, but a little different. Yes, it's a flat, cartilaginous fish that moves across the ocean floor, but it's of the electric variety, capable of producing a devastating electric discharge of up to 220 volts. So far as scientists are aware, there are 69 species of electric ray, with the most famous being the marbled electric ray for its massive size. The marbled electric ray is part of the genus Torpedo, named from the Latin word torpere, which means to be stiffened or paralyzed. This is in reference to the effect felt when a person steps on a living electric ray. It's almost like stepping on the electrified rail of a railroad track. An instant jolt of electricity runs through the body, stiffening and slightly paralyzing the poor person unfortunate enough to step on one of these rays. The voltage isn't enough to kill, but it can temporarily incapacitate a person long enough that they may even drown. Number 3. Marble-mouthed frogfish. The marble-mouthed frogfish is, to put it plainly, horribly ugly. It's just scary to look at. It looks like it has horrible sores all over its face, and it also looks like it might be kind of evil. Of course, it's not the fault of the poor frogfish that it looks like that, but nevertheless, it does not appear to be friendly at all. The frogfish is a type of anglerfish with a dorsal spine that it uses as a lure to trick other fish close to its mouth. The reason it's so disgusting is that it's camouflaged to blend in with the ocean environment where it lives. There are a bunch of different types of frogfish, but the marble-mouthed is by far the most hideous. It's also one of the rarest, thank God, found only occasionally in the wild. Scientists don't know much about this exact species, other than it's scary. They live primarily around the Philippines and North Borneo. They're covered in weird growths, and they have unusually long nostrils. The only good news is that this frogfish only grows to about 3 inches long, so you're unlikely to have a confrontation with one. Number 2. Faceless Cusk Eel. The Faceless Cusk Eel is a horrifying creature that doesn't appear to have a face. Of course, if you saw a fish swimming around without a face, you'd be shocked, but this fish manages to do it. It's one of the most bizarre animals ever found off the coast of Australia. According to Live Science, this creepy beast was recently rediscovered after more than a century without a single sighting. It has no discernible eyes and at first glance doesn't even seem to have a mouth. It's because the eel's mouth is located beneath its body. And even though it doesn't appear to have eyes, it actually does. They're just invisible under its skin. And as for that hidden mouth, it's kind of a nightmare. It might be hidden underneath its body, but once it opens the thing, it's like opening a doorway to certain death. It has a huge, gaping maw filled with close-set teeth that it uses to grind apart unsuspecting crustaceans. Number 1. Highfin Lizardfish. The Highfin Lizardfish is, depending on your outlook, either adorably ugly or scary and frightening. It has huge, dark eyes, a wide mouth full of teeth, and it's an almost psychedelic shade of blue. The lizardfish lives deeper than 3,000 feet in the midnight zone of the ocean, in a place where not a single ray of sunlight is able to penetrate. It can grow up to 2 feet long, but the largest ever recorded was an amazing 33 inches and weighed a whopping 15 pounds. That's pretty big for a lizardfish. The lizardfish is an apex predator in its own tiny world at the top of a very small underwater food chain, despite its small stature. It eats almost anything it can get a hold of, though it doesn't actively hunt. Instead, it lounges at the bottom of the ocean with its mouth hanging open, waiting patiently for something to get close enough to eat. It also isn't a picky eater. It will eat fish, crustaceans, and even cannibalize other lizardfish. It might even try and take a bite out of you if you stepped on it. Fortunately, you're never going to venture down that deep underwater, so you should be okay. Which one of these creatures freaked you out the most? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and come back again for another awesome video.